الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله عز وجل، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة دلالة، وكل دلالة في النار. وبعد. We welcome the dear brothers and sisters on the 13th of Jamad al-Akhir or Jamad al-Thani in the year 1445 al-Hijrah, corresponding to the 26th of December in the year 2023. And we're still continuing with our lessons from this amazing book, the explanation of the four principles, these four principles about shirk and tawheed, and they're very important principles that we need to learn about and study and to contemplate. So the last principle, number 4, which Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhāb rahimahullah brought, Al-Qawā'id-ul-Arba'a أن مشركي زماننا أغلظ شركا من الأولين. The fourth principle, that the mushriks of our time are more extreme in their shirk, or more severe in their shirk, or more harsh in their shirk rather than the people before. لأن الأولين يشركون في الرخاء, that the people before, they used to commit shirk in matters of ease, ويخلصون في الشدة, and in matters of hardship, situations, circumstances of hardship, that they would have sincerity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمُشْرِكُوا زَمَانِنَا شِرْكُهُمْ دَائِمٌ, and the mushrikeen of our time now, their shirk is continuous. فِي الرِّخَاء وَالشِّدَّةِ, in ease and in hardship, in times of difficulty and in times of ease, that they commit shirk in both these times. The people of the past, the only time that they used to commit shirk was when problems occurred, difficulties occurred, situations occurred that they were about to be destroyed. They would make sincerity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But nowadays the Muslims were so ignorant of these matters of shirk and tawheed that they commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to such an extreme that even in times of ease and no difficulty, they commit shirk. And Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhāb rahimahullah brings the evidence. This is dalil qawluhu ta'ala, and the evidence, the proof is the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْقِ, when they embark on a ship, when they go on a journey on a ship, دَعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ, they invoke and call upon Allah, making their faith purely for Him alone, because they know that only Allah is going to be to protect them and save them on this journey on the sea. فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ, and when He would bring them to safety to land, إِذَا هُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ, behold, they give a share of their worship to others. Surah Al-Ankabut, ayah 65. That when they get on the ship, they call upon Allah, making their deen purely for Allah's sake, only calling and making dua only for Allah. But when Allah gives them safety and returns them to the land, they commit shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our Shaykh Salih Fawzan, حفظه الله ta'ala, he says, Al-Qawā'id-ul-Arba'a وهي الأخيرة. This is the last principle. أن مشركي زماننا أعظم شركا من الأولين. That the mushriks of our time are worse in their shirk than the people before. الذين بعث إليهم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. To those that Allah sent the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ones nowadays are worse than those from before. The Shaykh says, وَالسَّبَبْ فِي ذَلِكَ وَاضِحٌ. He said the reason is very clear. The reason for this is very clear. أن الله عز وجل أخبر أن المشركين الأولين يخلصون لله إذا اشتد بهم الأمر. And this, he said the issue is very clear, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us, tells us about this. Allah tells us in the Quran about this, and we believe what Allah said. We believe and we submit, we accept what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. So Allah told us about these people, that they commit shirk when matters become difficult for them. يخلصون, that they make their religion pure and only for Allah's sake, when إذا اشتد بهم الأمر, when the matter becomes difficult for them, when hardships come and calamities and these type of matters come, they turn to Allah. So they do not call upon anyone other than Allah. لعلمهم, the Shaykh says, لعلمهم أنه لا ينقذ من الشدائد إلا الله. Because they have knowledge, they understood, they know that nobody can save them from calamities and difficulties and hardships except Allah. كما قال تعالى, like Allah Azza wa Jal said, this is what the Shaykh is telling us, that Allah said, وَإِذَا مَسَّكُمُ الضَّرُّ فِي الْبَحْرِ ضَلَّ مَنْ تَدْعُونَ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ فَلَمَّا نَجَّاكُمْ إِلَى الْبَرِّ أَأَرَدْتُمْ وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ كَفُورًا. When harm touches you upon the sea. And the examples that these ayat are giving are very, very powerful, very deep. Yeah, because why? They're out on the sea. And the sea is a powerful place, a powerful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People think that, oh, it's only water, but it is so powerful. It can sink ships. It can cause flooding, tsunamis, so many things that by Allah's permission, these things occur. It shows us how powerful the sea is. A wave, you can be on the shore, on the beach, on the shore, and a wave will come and suck you and pull you away into the sea, no matter how strong you are. So this ayah mentions, when harm touches you while you're upon the sea, those you call upon besides Allah vanish from you, except Him, except Allah. When harm touches you upon the sea, those you call upon besides Him vanish from you, except Allah. But when Allah brings you safely to the land, you turn away from Him, and man is ever ungrateful. Surah Al-Isra, ayah 67. And in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Luqman, ayah 32, وَإِذَا غَشِيَهُمْ مَوْجٌ كَذُلَلٍ دَعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. And when the wave overcomes them, waves in the sea overcome them and throw them into darkness, they call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, purely making the religion purely for Him. They only turn sincerely and purely to Allah, singling out Allah alone for worship. وفي الآية الأخرى فلما نجاهم إلى البر إذ هم يشركون. Surah Al-Qawā'id, and this is the dalil that Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab brought as well, that when Allah brings them to safety to land, they give a share of their worship to others. Give a share of their worship to others. So Allah is telling us this. It's very clear. It's very clear that the shirk of the people before was in hardships, difficulties, calamities. They would turn to Allah because they knew deep down that only Allah can save them and rescue them. So the Shaykh says, فَالْأَوَّلُونَ يُشْرِكُونَ فِي الرِّخَاءِ, that the people before, they used to commit shirk in rikha, yani rakha, which is in times of ease. So they would يدعون الأصنام والأحجار والأشجار, that they will call upon the idols, rocks and trees. Then the Shaykh goes on to talk about أما إذا وقوا في شدة, that if they fall into some difficulties, hardships, calamities, these type of things, وأشرفوا على الأخلاق, they're about to be destroyed, فإنهم لا يدعون صنما. So then how, when they're about to be destroyed, they don't call upon the idol, nor call upon a tree, nor upon a rock, ولا أي مخلوق, not anything of the creation. وإنما يدعون الله وحده سبحانه وتعالى. In fact, rather they would turn and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإذا كان لا يخلص من الشدائد إلا الله عز وجل. So if it is that it's only Allah that can save you and free you from difficulties, فكيف يدعى غيره في الرخاء. So how can they make dua to someone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in times of ease? How can they do that? In the times of ease, they go worship their trees and rocks and statues and idols and these type of things. Times of difficulty, they turn to Allah. How can that be? Then the Shaykh goes on and talks about now the comparison. He makes the comparison between the mushrikeen of our time, the mushrikeen nowadays. أما مشركو هذا الزمان, the mushrikeen of our time, المتأخرين الذين حدث فيهم الشرك من هذه الأمة المحمدية, okay, فإن شركهم دائم في الرخاء والشدة. So as regards the mushrikeen nowadays, those who came later, where they fell into shirk and shirk occurred in this this nation of this ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then their shirk is continuous in ease and in difficulty. And we see this a lot. We see this a lot occurring, especially amongst that sect we mentioned before, the Barelwiya, the grave worshippers. Those who go to graves and call upon graves and make dua to graves and these type of matters. You see them making dua in times of ease and likewise in times of hardship. Rather than turning to Allah, the Creator, they turn to something else. They turn to something else even in times of hardship. So لَا يُخْلِصُونَ لِلَّهِ وَلَا فِي حَالَةِ الشِّدَّةِ. So they don't sincere. They're not sincere in making the deen purely for Allah's sake, or worship or dua for Allah's sake, not even in the situation, circumstances when they have difficulties. بَلْ كُلَّمَا اشْتَدَّ بِهِ الْعَمَرِ اشْتَدَّ شِرْكُهُمْ. In fact, every time the hardship gets more difficult, the hardship gets difficult, more and more, their shirk becomes more severe, it becomes worse and worse. It becomes worse and worse. Rather than turning and making dua to Allah, a person sick, he's sick, he's on his deathbed, but who does he turn to? Someone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Shaykh says, like they call upon Al-Hasan wal-Husayn, the grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ. They start making dua, like the Rafid, the Shia, they call upon Husayn, Ya Husayn, Ya Husayn, Ya Husayn. They ask him for help. Or some of them they call Hassan, which the Rafid, the Shia don't really follow as much, but they prefer Husayn. They say, Ya Husayn madad, oh Ya Husayn, help me. And likewise, the Shaykh says, Wal Abdul Qadir, Wal Rafa'i, Wa Ghayra Dhalik. Yani, they call upon these people. When you look at these biographies of these people, you find that generally speaking, they're righteous people. So Al-Hasan and Hussein, they're the offspring of the Prophet ﷺ. They're the grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ used to carry them with him, and they were twins, and the Prophet ﷺ would kiss them, and he would carry them, and he would be very happy and feel very proud of his grandchildren. And he would allow them to play on his back when he was in sajda. And then he would grab them and pull them off of his back from his sajda when he would want to get up. Or he would have them with him when he would give the khutbah. It was Hassan and Hussein, righteous people, companions of the Prophet ﷺ, those who have been promised paradise. They're righteous people. But we're not allowed to call upon them. We're not allowed to invoke them. We're not allowed to make dua to them. They can't hear us making dua. They can't hear our call for help and rescue. Aid us, help us. No, we can't do that. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all living. Al-Hassan Hussein have passed away. They're not hearing your dua. They can't help you. And likewise they call upon Abdul Qadir al-Jilani. Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, as the scholars mention, is that he was a righteous person and he was a scholar, but he inclined more towards simplicity, zuhud, and he didn't love and want the beautification of the dunya, and he would exert himself in worship. And that's why the Sufiya, they love Abdul Qadir Jilani, and they attach themselves to him. And they spoil his name. They spoil his name and give a bad image to his name. But Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, rahimahullah ta'ala, was a righteous man, as far as the scholars mention. But his followers, the people who attach themselves, they have nothing to do with his way. If they did, they would follow him. But they don't. They go to extremes and have superstitious beliefs and superstitious actions and these type of things, and they end up worshipping him. And they start calling upon him to make dua. And likewise, this person that the Shaykh mentions, Shaykh Salih Fawzan mentions, Al-Rafa'i, this person as well. But this Rafa'i, he was a Sufi, clear, utter Sufi. Whereas Al-Hassan, Hussein, Abdul Qadir, Jilani were different. They were righteous people. But here, Rafa'i was Sufi, and he set up a tariqah, a Sufi path, a Sufi set of rules and regulations, which have nothing to do with the Kitab and the Sunnah. And these Sufis, they follow Al-Rafa'i, and he set up a tariqah, a Sufi tariqah, set up rules and regulations, and from that they would go to extremes in khalwa, isolating themselves, going to hibernation and isolating themselves away from the people for 40 days and for long periods of time, isolating themselves away from their families, giving up on the comforts of the dunya. And they set up this Sufi, and then they would go to extreme. For example, this Rafa'i and his sect, they used to stab themselves with spears and swords. Stab themselves with spears and swords. And this is the extreme Sufis. Because what happens is that when you isolate yourself away from people, which is completely against the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ never isolated himself. He would only go in the beginning to reflect upon the creation. When he went into the Mount Hira, when Jibreel alayhi salam came to him, after that he didn't go. It wasn't a regular practice of the Prophet ﷺ to do that. And none of the Sahaba, he never taught any of the Sahaba to isolate themselves. Yes, a person spends maybe a short period of time, a few hours reflecting and things like that, but not isolating themselves from their families or isolating themselves from society. This is mukhalif, this is a bid'ah, this is an opposition to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So what happens? When they start doing this, they start imagining things, and the jinn come and they become possessed. So then they start stabbing themselves. They start stabbing themselves with swords and spears, thinking that this is a righteous thing, harming themselves. But they won't harm them because they've got jinn in them. They have jinn in them, so they won't be they won't feel anything, they won't feel any harm, because the jinn the jinn stop their bodies from being actually, blood coming out and these type of things. Because if you stab somebody, blood will come out and they will die. But these people, they have this possession of being possessed by the jinn, and then they stab themselves with spears and swords and these type of things. And they used to walk on fire. They used to walk on hot embers of fire, like you see in those films about, these Indian, what do you call them? Those like soothsayers and these type of things with a big turban on it, walking on fire. This is all haram. All haram. This is nothing to do with the deen whatsoever. But these people, they try to show that, look, how much we have given up of the dunya. Look at the extreme that we've gone to given up of the dunya, that we can walk on fire. And there's another lie that was said by Rafa'i, that he came to the Prophet's grave, and the Prophet's hand came out of the grave and he kissed the Prophet's hand. This all lies and superstitions and gadib, like our scholars have mentioned. The Shaykh says, Shaykh Salih Fawzan continues and says, and this is well known, and these weird matters are well known about these type of, and they mention weird things, strange things about the sea, that if one of them, the matters, the circumstances, calamities and difficulties became difficult for them, you find them shouting out, crying out names of the awliya wa salihin, wa yastaghithuna bihim min dunillah, and they start shouting out the names of the righteous people and the awliya of Allah, and they start seeking aid with them rather than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لأن الدعاة الباطل والضلال يكونون لهم, because these callers to falsehood and misguidance, they say, نحن ننقذكم من البحار, that we will save you from the oceans and the seas. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. This is the deception. These are shayateen. These are shayateen that try to mislead people. Then the Shaykh says, فإذا أصابكم شيء اختفوا بأسمائنا ونحن ننقذكم. Yani, they say to the people that if you're in matters of difficulty, then call out our names. Call our names and we will rescue you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. This is clear, utter kufr, disbelief. Because we don't find any of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ practicing. We don't find any of the tabi'een practicing, atba' tabi'een, any of the righteous imams, scholars, none of them practicing these type of things. This is all from those people who try to rip people off and cheat them and deviate them away from the correct path. And this is similar to those people who carry the small pictures of their sheikhs. They carry small pictures of their sheikhs and they put them in their pocket, and close in their top pockets, and keep it close to their heart, and they say, see, our sheikh will protect us. It's a form of protection, and this is a form of shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can protect anyone. Then the Shaykh goes on to mention, and he brings an example, and he says, كما يروى هذا عن مشايخ الطرق الصوفية. As is mentioned, now he's going to give an example of what these people say, that they will save them if you go out onto the sea. As is mentioned from some of the sheikhs of the Sufiya, and if you want, you can read this book, Tabaqat al-Sha'rani. He goes, in this book there is that which will make your skin crawl, of what you hear about these sort of so-called miracles for the awliya, that they save them while they're in the sea, that one of them, his hand will come to the sea and he will carry the ship and all the people, and it will bring them to the land, and that not even the sleeve, the sleeve that of the clothing of the sheikh gets wet. He goes to other extreme turahatihim wa khurafatihim, stupid stories and superstitious stories. So he said that their shirk of these people is in ease and in hardship. So that's why they're worse of them than the mushrikeen of the past. And this is, you'll find this occurs a lot. It's not same strange stories. You'll find these type of stories so many. So the scholars say, well, if that was the case, that these people were in hardship on the sea, and this hand of this sheikh came and saved them, picked up the ship, then who caused them to be in the hardship? Who caused them to be in hardship at that time? Who tested them? And they will have to say, Allah. Subhanallah. Allah tested them, and you're saying that the sheikh saved them. Subhanallah, what superstitious, rubbish stories, you have falsehood that you're making up. This is what these people are making up. They're making up falsehood to misguide the masses. And the misguided masses, they say, wow, 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 wow. They say, wow, 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 what an amazing story. Awdhu billah. Something which you don't have any sanad, any chain, no statement from the Prophet, nothing. Nothing that could save, even at the time of the Prophet, who's way above the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the salihin. These are the prophets and the messengers. Prophet Yunus alayhi salam was in the belly of the whale, couldn't save himself. Nuh alayhi salam couldn't save his son. And you're talking about some sheikh that his hand comes across the oceans and picks up the ship. What rubbish stories you're talking about? And people fall for this, and they believe these type of stories. Subhanallah. Then the Shaykh Salih Fawzan goes on to mention, he says, and likewise is in what Shaykh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab said in his book, Kashf al-Shubahat. Kashf al-Shubahat is one of the later books that Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab wrote, and it is not an easy book to understand as well. It's a higher level book. It's a higher level book, and Kashf al-Shubahat is unveiling the doubts. Unveiling the doubts that the people have of shirk at that time, and he exposes those doubts and he explains them and refutes them. And it's a wonderful book to study. A really wonderful book to study, because it makes our aqidah concrete. It makes our belief in Tawheed concrete and strong. So the Shaykh Salih Fawzan brings a quote. He says, like the Shaykh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab said in Kashf al-Shubahat, min wajhin akhir, yani from a different point of view, أن الأولين يعبدون الناس الصالحين من الملائكة والأنبياء والأولياء. That the people in the early days, they used to worship people from the righteous ones and from the angels and the prophets and the ones close to Allah, the awliya. أما هؤلاء, as for these people, then they are worshipping those who are the most evil of people. أُنَّاسًا مِنْ أَفْجَرَ النَّاسِ. They worship those who are the worst of the people. وَهُمْ يَعْتَرِفُونَ بِذَلِكَ. And they admit to this, that they turn and worship these type of, they're the most evil. I mean, if you meet some of these people, so-called saints and so-called leaders and peers and baba and saints and these type of things, you'll see, subhanallah, first thing that you see on their faces is a evil look on their faces, because most of the cases they're possessed by jinn. Okay, so you see evil look on their faces. There's no nur, there's no light on their faces. Yeah? Their faces are not illuminated by iman, because they call to shirk and they commit shirk. And you find that the way they are, the way they behave, and their clothing and these type of matters, mukhalif, 100% oppose the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the first thing that you, and they accept this as well. So, for example, the Shaykh says, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab said, فَالَّذِينَ يُسَمُّونَهُمْ الْأَقْطَابِ وَالْأَوْغَاثِ لَا يُصَلُّونَ وَلَا يَصُومُونَ وَلَا يَتَنَزَّهُونَ عَنِ الزِّنَا وَاللُّوَاتِ وَالْفَاحِشَةِ. That these people, that they call them qutub, al-aqtab, yani they call them the pivot around the. So what happens is these people, they go to such an extreme that they take their sheikh as the pivotal matter where the whole dunya, the whole world, everything exists. That's what they claim. They claim that their sheikh is a qutub, yani is a pole, Yeah, literally it means pole, but a pillar or pole that the whole everything revolves around. Or they come al-aghwath, al-ghawth, yeah, aiders, helpers. That's what they call their Sufi sheikhs. They call them ghawth al-azam, like for example, they say the greatest helper. The greatest helper is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? And they don't pray. They don't pray, they don't fast. Yeah, subhanallah, and you can see this on in certain videos. You can see these so-called religious people. They'll sit outside. The one I heard him say. He said, "I sit outside toilets and I bless the passers-by. I bless the passers-by." So they give him money or whatever because they know he's a poor man, home, whatever. So he says, "I sit outside toilets, public toilets, and I bless the passers-by near the masjid." So the guy says, "So what about prayer?" He goes, "Oh, I don't pray." He goes, "I don't know how to pray." He said, "I don't know how to pray, but I bless the passers-by." Subhanallah. He doesn't know how to pray. He was an old man. This was in Pakistan. He was an old man. He sits by the dirty, disgusting toilets, and he blesses people, and he doesn't pray. He doesn't know how to pray. He goes, "I don't even know how to pray." And the Shaykh here, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, here is telling that this the situation at his time is exactly the same as our time. وَلَا يَصُومُونَ, and they don't fast, and they don't free themselves and keep away from zina, illicit intercourse, and homosexuality and evil sexual deeds. They don't keep away from those type of things, and that's what you'll find, because they're so steeped in evil of shirk and bid'ah and kufr that they fall into these type of evils. Because anybody who is upon kitab or sunnah and the manhaj al-salaf and on iman, yes, he might fall into some sin, but he repents and turns away, and he turns away from that evil. He turns away from that evil. But these people, they're steeped in it. They're drowning in this type of things. And these are well-known stories about these type of people, well-known facts that we know about these people. The Shaykh says, لأنهم يزعمون لأنهم بزعمهم ليس عليهم التكاليف, because in their claim, what they say is that they are not tasked with worship. These Sufis, their sheikhs, they go to such an extreme, they say, "I don't have to pray. I don't have to pray. I'm not tasked or burdened with what you are burdened with." فَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِمْ حَرَامٌ وَلَا halal. So they don't have to adhere to haram or halal. إِنَّمَا هَذَا لِلْعَوَامِ فَقَط. And they say, this is only for you common folk. Prayer, fasting, keeping away from haram, doing that which is halal, this is for you common folk. Subhanallah. وَهُمْ يَعْتَرِفُونَ أَنَّ سَعَدَاتُهُمْ لَا يُصَلُّونَ وَلَا يُصُومُونَ. And he goes, they acknowledge that their leaders, their sheikhs, don't pray, don't fast, and they don't keep away, and they're not careful of evil deeds, sexual deeds. وَمَا هَذَا يَعْبُدُونَهُم. And along with this, these people worship them. Rather, they worship بَلْ يَعْبُدُونَ أُنَاسًا مِنْ أَفْجَرَ النَّاسِ, from the most evil of people. Like the Shaykh says, قال حلاج وابن عربي ورفائي والبدوي وغيرهم. And these people were the extreme evil. Like Hallaj, he was the one who said that we are in a union with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is it was in us, and we are in Allah. أعوذ بالله من ذلك. Allah is separate from His creation. It's like these people never read the Quran. It's like they never read the Quran, because if you read the Quran, straight away you know that Allah is separate from His creation. Allah is above His arsh, above the heavens. It's nothing to do, it's not connected to the creation. Ibn Arabi, who said that Allah is everywhere, even in this dog. A'udhu billah. Horrible kalam. And Warafai and Badawi and other than them. Then the Shaykh says, Shaykh Salih Fawzan, he ends that quote, and then he says, وَقَدْ سَاقَ الشَّيْخ دليل على المشركين المتأخرين أعظم وأغلظ شركا من الأولين. And the Shaykh Salih Fawzan said, and Shaykh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhāb brings the evidence that the mushrikeen mutaakhireen, the ones who came later, they're worse in their shirk, they're more severe in their shirk than the first ones. Because the ones in the beginning, they would make, in matters of hardship and difficulties, that they would do everything purely for Allah's sake. And they would commit shirk in ease. And the dalil is the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَإِذَا رَكِبُوا فِي الْفُلْقِ, when they embarked or went on a ship, دَوَى اللَّهُ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ, and they made dua purely for Allah's sake. And here the Shaykh ends his risala, his explanation, the Shaykh Salih Fawzan ends his explanation of this book by saying, Sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. We would like to end with the ending. We'd like to finish this risala as well, this explanation, by a few words from our Shaykh Ubayd al-Jabri rahimahullah ta'ala, from his explanation. When he finished his explanation, he said, تم ما فتح الله به علينا من شرح هذه القواعد النافعة الماتعة المباركة. We've completed what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed and given us from this explanation of these principles, these beneficial, enjoyable, blessed benefits. And it is sufficient for me, the Shaykh says, وَحَسْبِي وَلَا أَدَّعِي الْكَمَالِ, because I am it's sufficient for me that I do not claim to be perfect. I don't claim to have done this perfectly. إِنِّي أَجْتَهَدْتُ فِي بِيَانِ, indeed I tried my best in clarifying the explanation ما تضمنته مضيفا explaining what is in this what is contained in this. During my explanation, what was easy for me from the evidences of the texts, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala an yanfa bihi ahlul Islam, that I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it makes it beneficial for the people of Islam, and وأن يجعله ثقيلا في موازين أعمالنا, and that Allah places this as weighty on the scales of our actions, يوم نلقاه, the day that we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So likewise, I'll finish with the same thing, that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the benefit from what we've studied in this amazing booklet, and Allah make it for us that it's a hujjah for us and an evidence for us and not against us. We ask Allah to bless us and make us implement that what we have learned, and make us from the people of Tawheed, and keep us away from the hellfire and enter us into paradise. And anything good that I said is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and anything that was shortcomings and mistakes and these type of matters, they're all from myself and shaitan. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with what we've learned, and make us easy for us to practice it, and keep us away from shirk, and keep us upon tawheed. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and our shortcomings, and forgive our parents and our grandparents, and enter them into paradise. And all khair is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, anta astaghfiruka wa atubu alayk. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad.